In the beginning of November, end of October, I was fortunate enough to visit Walt Disney World Resort with my family. And I mean both my wife's and my side of the family for 2 weeks, which is more than what I think I'll ever need again. So let's take a trip back to that vacation and explore the food, resorts, parks, and rides in this Walt World. So I'm going out of order for this one. I wanted to get it out by Christmas, and I kind of missed that deadline. On November 8th, 2022 was the first night of Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, which is the reason why we took this long trip in the first place. If you didn't already know, this was the night before Hurricane Nicole hit Orlando. So, know before you watch this, all of our travel plans went to hell at this point. Anyway, on with the show. We left Pop Century for Magic Kingdom for the party. You get in as early as 4 p.m. and it goes till midnight. And, like I mentioned in the previous video, some things are closed for the party. But for us tonight, that really didn't matter. Although I did want to do the Carousel of Progress, but that never happened. Well, we get to the park, and so it began. Rain, rain, and you guessed it, more rain! We planned ahead with ponchos, rain jackets, and whatever else we had. Once it let up, we ventured into the park, heading down the breezeway, aka that street behind Main Street, to get your wristbands, your collectible ornament, and began to strategize how to make the most of the party with the conditions. I suggested Dumbo first, since 1, it's classic, 2, it didn't have a line, and C, it was misting, if not clear at that point. Forgive my waterlogged memory. So after we got our ride on Dumbo, which was enjoyable, a simple but fun spinner. Afterwards, we hit the Barnstormer for the little ones. I made my nephew a coaster fan, and he can only go on a handful, so if I can take him on one, I'm going to take him on one. And I haven't rode this coaster in 22 years. And for kids, it's a ride that I thought was surprisingly decent. Definitely the weakest coaster at Walt Disney World, but it had a bit of laterals. Nothing crazy though. After this, we hit Seven Dwarfs Mine Train again. And as we entered the line, so did the downpour. When I say I had flashbacks to my first ride on Gatekeeper in the pouring rain, I'm not kidding. While this was fun, that rain still hurt. Afterwards, the rest of the party hit Peter Pan's flight while I sat out with the little ones. This was our last day of parks for the trip, and naps had been a luxury, so we let them have this one. Rightly so. From there, we were just looking for rides to stay dry. That ended up meaning a trip on the Mad Tea Party. A first for me. I'm not big on teacups, but it was fun to knock something off my new-to-me Disney bucket list. With the downpour never ending, I suggested heading to the People Mover to get out of the rain and regroup. I hope this is around for the long haul. This is a great leisurely trip and one of my personal favorites. This trip around Tomorrowland shows off all the highlights: Buzz, Space Mountain, and the model of Epcot, the city. I was hoping for an in-show exit when we stopped inside Space Mountain and the work lights came on. But whatever the issue was, they were able to fix it remotely and our trip continued on the People Mover. So after that, we looked to see, 1, if we'd get a break from the rain, and 2, what special characters were out at the party. Moana was one of them. My wife, daughter, and nephew are all obsessed with her. So we headed to Adventureland to meet her. While in line, we had news we weren't looking forward to. Our flights home had been rescheduled due to the hurricane until Saturday. Let's add 2 more days to this trip. It can only cost a couple of bucks, right? Said. This is where our trip becomes a living hell outside of this party, and I'm still trying to get over it. Anyways, back to the story. Anyway, we met Moana, and it was a very neat experience. My daughter loved it, and Moana could tell she will be a good chief one day. And if that ain't the truth. By this time, it was probably between 8 and 9. Maybe a little bit later. We were all starving, so we ended up getting tamales and loaded chicken fingers from the Golden Oak Outpost. That place that used to sell McDonald's French fries between Adventureland and Frontierland, for those in the know. All of which was very good. The kids got to see the delayed Christmas parade going by with my sister, while the rest of us dried off and ate, since we had a break in the rain, and figure out what to do with the rest of this night. I suggested hitting Pirates, since it's my wife's favorite, and we had yet to take our daughter on it. Then make our way back to Tomorrowland so my nephew could go on Buzz, again, his favorite. That way, I could also then hit my favorite ride in all of Walt Disney World. Well, it might be borderline number 2 now, aka Space Mountain. We all agreed, a few of them split off for the shops and the holiday food offerings, and the rest of us did just that. Pirates, like I said in the earlier episode, is one, if not the greatest, of what I'd call classic Disney dark rides, and was a hit as always. Buzz was fun, and it almost didn't seem like we were going to get on it because it was down when we walked up. It was still dry, so we did something new. We took a lap on the Tomorrowland Speedway. We did it more or less as a fun, why not, it had no line kind of ride, and it has some Christmas decor along the ride path. I wanted to go to get close enough to look at Tron and get some footage. Then came my favorite moment. Time to ride the one ride that my wife knows, if we ever go to Disney, I must ride. Space Mountain. I was excited to do this because it's my favorite, but also to see the Christmas overlay, which is a lot of green, red, and white lasers with Trans-Siberian Orchestra blaring through the ride, which is probably the closest I'll ever get to riding the ride with the lights on, because man, you can see all of that structure during this. I remembered why I fell in love with this coaster. It's janky, out of control feeling, the out of nowhere pops of airtime, the whiffy turns. It's not the biggest, the fastest, or anything by any means like that, but it's one of the most complete rides to me, and it will always be a sentimental top 10 to me. After a ride on both sides, it was a night. It was downpouring, and we had had enough. We strolled through the shops to get some last-minute souvenirs, then headed for our hopefully not overcrowded bus back to Pop Century. Spoiler alert! The one was full of people, and they tried to cram our 10-plus people party on it. But we ended up getting on the next bus, thankfully. The driver even had the heat cranked up. Again, bonus points. Our driver back was Dave. He was awesome. When we got back to the hotel, he let us off last so we could get the kids settled in the strollers and then wheel them out using the ramp. It was a good way to end it for the kids. If you like what you've seen, give us a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the parks.